Hello all. My name is Michael Giuliano, and my presentation is focused on the terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001. More specifically, it can be considered a testimony of the total collapse of communication and the lack of control once the planes hit the World Trade Center. I'm lucky enough to be able to interview my father, who was part of the response. He was a police officer in New Jersey. He said one of the main problems that the responders all faced was communication. All the agencies, firemen, police officers, were all on different radio frequencies and had different terminology. This was a huge problem because the agencies could not relay information back and forth in a timely and efficient manner. According to a New York Times article, the fire department and the police department barely coordinated strategies or shared intelligence, which is all due to the failed planning on having a main emergency frequency. Also, a lack of communication caused there to be no ambulances for more than 400 calls. And again, in this article, it stated that in the World Trade Centers, they installed devices called repeaters, which boost the radio signals. And when Fire Chief Pfeiffer was in the building, he tried to turn it on, but they just did not work. Another critical failure in their efforts was in control and command with the hierarchy of the agencies. My father said all the agencies, mainly the police department and the fire department, were all fighting to gain control of the emergency responders, and they were all just trying to take charge and become the top dog. And in this article, the New York Times article, it said for years previous to 2001, there were tribal, feudal efforts and management lapses that have been part of the emergency response culture in New York. Now, another main problem was there were no emergency exercises or procedures in place at the World Trade Centers for this type of disaster. Although Mayor Rudolph W. Giuliani created the Office of Emergency Management in 1996 and spent nearly $25 million to coordinate emergency response, Trade Center officials said the agency had not conducted an emergency exercise there that included the fire department, the police department, and the Port Authority's emergency staff. The head of security for the World Trade Center at that time was John O'Neill. He was an ex-FBI agent that was, ironically, part of the task force tracking Osama bin Laden. And he knew a terrorist attack like this was coming, but he didn't know when and obviously where they would strike. And he tried to get everybody at the World Trade Center to implement an exercise or to, better prepare them and for the mitigation and the preparedness for all of them at the World Trade Center. In the New York Police Department's after action report, they noted that they had to immediately create a comprehensive disaster response plan with a significant counterterrorism component. Now, what does this all tell us? The attacks on the World Trade Center and on the Pentagon transformed emergency management. It brought emergency management to life, and many higher education degrees and certifications were created, and a large emphasis on mitigation and planning for procedures and exercises were then created and put in place in all types of businesses, the government, everything were all put in place just for terrorist attacks. So the World Trade Centers, so the attack on 9/11 transformed emergency management and helped bring it to light. Okay, so now what did this do to emergency management now? The attacks on the World Trade Center and the Pentagon basically transformed emergency management as we know it. It helped re-bring terrorism into light with dealing with emergency management, and not only just natural disasters. Because of the attacks, many higher education degrees and certifications were created to educate people and on emergency management with terrorism and natural disasters, to put them in positions that will help prepare people and help prepare businesses and the government to withstand attacks from natural disasters and terrorism. And also it created many procedures and exercises that are now in place for terrorist attacks. I just want to say thank you for anyone who watches it, and good luck on all the other ones. Thank you guys.